Hey guys, how's it going? This is Eric with the first of hopefully many tutorial videos. Today we're going to be working through a project called the Calendar app. We're going to be doing it in .NET Core and full calendar. So .NET Core is Microsoft's newer framework. It's kind of meant to replace ASP.NET. Very good performance, very lightweight, doesn't require a lot of code, and has a lot of really useful tools for scaffolding things. Things like login, log out, forgot password, two-factor authentication, and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of go through things a little bit here, and I have a little bit of a presentation here for you guys real quick, just kind of go over what we're going to do. So the topics we're going to cover in this tutorial are going to be obviously the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so you need a basic knowledge of that. C#, which most everything in .NET is built in C#. Some of it's in VB or F#, but most of it's in C#. .NET Core, obviously. Entity Framework, which is an object relational mapper. It's what you use to take your models, which would be like, we'll go over those in a minute, and you use those to map to records in the database. So you use your models to save it in memory, and then it goes back and forth between whatever database, and the database will be in SQL Server. Then we have the Full Calendar JS plugin, which is a really nice plugin. I definitely recommend checking it out. The link is in the description box below. Full Calendar allows you to create a really nice detailed calendar where you can see like lists of events and things of that nature, and you can create them if you get the premium package, which I think is around $500. Or you can just display them if you want to pass in some JSON and have it be displayed. For this project, we're going to pass our JSON values into the full calendar, and we're going to create them using ASP.NET. So the final product will look kind of like that. And there's going to be a GitHub link so you guys can see what the final code looks like, as well as all the updates and changes and commits I made onto this project. Of course, serialization. Whenever we talk about JSON, we have to know serialization. Serialization is just the process by which we take a object in code like C# or whatever, and we take that object in code and we put it into a serialized JSON string. So, and what that means is it's a string value, so it's a series of characters rather than an object in our code. It's a pretty simple concept, but there are some aspects of it that get a little fancy and get a little advanced as we go on. Again, you want to make sure you just at least understand the basics of serialization and you have a good understanding of it. And then finally, dependency injection. We're going to be dependency injecting a data access layer into our entity framework code. And that data access layer is going to serve as our framework for how we access all of our data. And it's going to contain our DB context. But you need to just basically, for those that don't understand dependency injection, you basically inject an interface of your class into your controllers, and you access it as the interface rather than accessing it as the class itself. So it's just a design pattern that Microsoft and a lot of other companies recommend using. It's a little bit more stable, it's a little bit more reusable, and it's just a preferred design pattern. So we're going to learn about that a little bit, but if you understand it already, you'll be good to go. So what you're going to need to get started here is just, like I said, basic understanding C#, JavaScript, and HTML. I can fill in some of the blanks and some of the other things. You're going to need Visual Studio because we're working in Visual Studio. If you don't have Visual Studio, then you can get the Community Edition for free, or you can get like Professional for, I don't know, I'm not sure what exactly it costs. You can check it out on the Microsoft website. But you should be able to build this simple app within the community version. We're not using any of the fancy debugging features or any of the crazy like Azure features that the professional or enterprise licenses come with. So we should be good to go for that. All right, so let's get started. Section 1. Let's start by building out our project file. This is pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to create a project file. We're going to select .NET Core and MVC. We're going to select our authentication protocol, which is going to be individual user accounts, which means the user can sign in, it saves their password, and then kind of goes from there. And then we're going to add a simple Bootstrap theme we're going to get from bootswatch.com. That's pretty simple. We just need to add the JS and the CSS file and reference it in our C# code in the layout. Then we're going to add full calendar and just have a simple blank calendar rendered onto our homepage just to test that it's working. And we're going to make sure that the login is working. Now the login is going to be a little bit trickier because ASP.NET by default requires an email confirm login. And if you're doing this on your local machine, you're not going to have access to an SMTP gateway. So it's not going to be able to confirm the email. You know, like typically when you sign up for a website, it goes, thanks for signing up, confirm your email here. Well, we're not going to do that. So we're going to need to change the settings a little bit, make sure we can access it without confirming the email, because obviously it can't send an email if it doesn't have access to an SMTP gateway. So pretty simple. First section, let's get rolling. All right, let me bring up my Visual Studio here. And let's go ahead and we're going to see a lot of junk in here because I have lots of crap. Oh, it opened on this window. That's okay. Let me just click on Create New Project, bring it over here. You don't have to look at all the crap that I have in here. Now, I've already created a repository in GitHub. If you don't know how to do that, there's plenty of tutorials online. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the project file. We're going to put it into our GitHub repository. And then we're going to version that, and then we're going to go through each of these steps so that we have everything ready to go. As I was saying before, go down here, select ASP.NET Core Web App, Model View Controller, MVC. Double click, I guess. We'll call it .NET Core Calendar. Calendar, like that. You can call it whatever you want. And of course, my webcam's in the way here, so let me just go like that. And then the authentication, this is what we were talking about before. We're going individual accounts, because that means you have to, you know. And you can turn on runtime compilation if you want. What that means is if you have an error in your Razor view, it won't let you compile, which is kind of a cool feature because you get a lot of errors and views are compiled when they're displayed. So they don't have the normal standard of like, if you compile it, it has to compile first and then you can deploy, and so on and so forth. So let's go create. So here we go. It opened in my other window over here. Let me see. Now, here we are. So let's run it and see what's here. Just a quick run. Click that play button. Coffee time. How to build a .NET Core app as a millionaire. All right, enough of my tech lead references. Where are we here? Give it a minute to think, and then we'll do a quick tour, shall we? So when you select individual accounts, .NET Core does a lot of the work for you. What I mean is, you can see all this stuff here if you go into your project file. So if I go in here, I can see, go into the views, we can see home, index, privacy, and you can see the layout too. The layout and the login partial are what's on that top sidebar. However, if we go to register, this page doesn't exist anywhere because it's generated by a DLL file by .NET Core. So you get it automatically, but it's like you can't customize it. So what, you know, the only thing you can customize is layout, and that's kind of unfortunate because maybe we want to say register should say join our great website, so we can customize it. So real quick, I'm going to show you how to do that because obviously you're probably going to want to customize your register. So it's pretty easy. We go in here and we go into this areas, identity, pages. We go in here and we go add We go new scaffolded item. We select identity. What this does is this gives us a whole bunch of stuff that .NET does for us. And we're just going to create some of these real quickly. But actually, before we do that, well, no, we'll go ahead. We'll do that. We'll save that for the next lesson because we're going to want to customize that eventually. But we don't need to. So what's next? We can log in. We can see our app. What we need to do is we need to come over here. We need to grab our Bootstrap theme. So I decided to go with Bootswatch Morph. So we'll go ahead and download it from GitHub. We'll open her up and see what she got. So we'll grab this. I don't know if it's done downloading. This, and guys, if you don't know Bootswatch, there's a lot of free themes here. If you're building a web app, they have some really nice themes. They have really nice buttons and things like that. If you're building a WordPress theme or a web application or something, I've used Bootswatch a lot, and I don't know why it's not why it's not opening. Clicking show in folder, I don't see it on any other things here. Go ahead and, well, I mean, here it is. Why don't we try and extract so we can get some of those files? Go ahead and extract all. Oh wow, who would have thought it'd take this long to do a Bootswatch 5? Oh, never mind, we're already done. Allegedly. Allegedly. I don't know what this thing's doing. All right, so here we go. It's probably under build. Yeah. So what we can do here is we can take this SCSS file or this these files that are in here, and we can go ahead and copy the entire thing, or we can just download the actual CSS direct from the website. I think it's going to be easier just to download it direct from the website. So you right click and inspect or view page source. We can see the CSS files right here. We need these files right here. These 4 files. So go ahead and download these 4 files. I have them right here. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste them into my project file, like so. You go into www.root/CSS, and we just go paste like that. Simple enough, right? Again, there's probably a method to the madness of getting Bootswatch. I'm gonna use that because really all it is just some referenced files, you know, just some files we have to unpack, and we're not really looking to do anything that crazy. We're looking more to just get what we need. Obviously, we'll need like bootstrap.js and probably a few other things. Let me see. We got bootstrap, jQuery, prism.js. Okay, that might be important. Let's grab prism.js and save it. And we'll copy and paste that as well. We'll copy. And we'll just go ahead and reference these 4 files in our layout. We'll go paste. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, so let's go into our layout file so we can add this Bootstrap theme. Get a little custom look and feel going here. So the way that this file works, this file is sort of like the container. It's similar to like if you have a WordPress theme, you know, the theme has like a master page or something of that nature that contains all that PHP and JavaScript and whatnot. So, oops, sorry about that, guys. Stuff still unpacking, apparently. It was faster just to grab the code. Okay, so here's what we got. This bootstrap.main.css, we need to replace it with our Bootstrap because our Bootstrap, I believe, has the custom code from there. So, and we'll do font awesome as well, because apparently there's probably a few font awesome icons here. We do font awesome.min, sure. Min just means it's minified, so it's a little faster, but it's a little harder to work with from a programming perspective. A little harder to read, but we're not going to make changes to that file, so that's okay. Then Prism. Prism Ocadia. And that's it for CSS. Let's add our scripts at the bottom. Well, we could do render section. Not sure what that is in .NET Core, to be perfectly honest with you. Not sure where that is in .NET Core, to be perfectly honest with you. So we'll go ahead and just do it the old-fashioned way. And again, for those who don't understand, this render section scripts, there's a reference here in .NET Core that has what these scripts are, and it'll just generate them and you can save them. But it's not that much different than just adding it via HTML. I mean, the end result is the same. So it just is a matter of preference. We will add it like so. And now we have all of our scripts. All of our JavaScript and Bootstrap scripts look ready to go with our nice little app here. Isn't that beautiful? So let's go ahead and hit that play button and watch the magic happen. Looks good. Looks real good. Yeah, it looks like that theme. It's not perfect. Obviously, there's probably maybe one or two things we're missing. And it might not necessarily mesh with the calendar as well. We can play around with the calendar styles later, but I think this is a good template for now. So let's go ahead, now that we have our Bootstrap theme, we've got our project file created, we got our Bootstrap theme added. What else was on the old itinerary on my old PowerPoint presentation? Bootstrap theme, check. .NET Core, check. Add full calendar, and then try to log in. Okay, I think we can get that knocked out in the next 5 minutes or so. So let's go on over to full calendar. Let's grab our stuff, shall we? Not Facebook. I don't need to spend any more time on that stupid place. Here we go. Docs. Let's just go to getting started. That's a great place to get started. Initialize with script tags. This is what we need on full calendar. Now, I already downloaded fullcalendar.zip, and it's in my download files. And basically all that contains is, it contains these two primary files right here, which is the CSS and the main.js, which is this big old JavaScript file that has everything you need to generate your beautiful calendars. And it's powered by, it has React components. I don't know if I don't believe it requires React, but I believe there's a React extension for you React guys out there, and also I think a Vue.js extension. So a lot of cool stuff with this app. We're going to be using the free version because, I mean, who wants to spend money just to learn? I mean, come on, guys. You know, some of y'all are probably students. Some of y'all are probably just guys trying to hone your craft. You know, you don't want to be spending too much. So let me go into my downloads here, and we can see this full calendar.zip, as well as a bunch of other junk I've downloaded over the last couple of weeks. And we can see in here, you go into lib, library, whatever you want. See, here are the two files we're talking about, the main.js and the main.css. Those are the primary components you need. So we'll go ahead and copy this. We'll go copy this cascading style sheet in main, or you can use the .min. I'm going to use the main in case I want to add any type of updates to it, because I might decide I want to add my own custom CSS classes. We're going to paste, well, not add, we're going to go paste, and ta-da, there's our CSS file right there in our Visual Studio. Isn't that great? And then we'll grab the other one as well. So we'll come down here, and we will grab the main.js, and we'll do the same exact thing. And we'll go copy, and then we will go paste. Alrighty, looks great. So then we'll add a nice little section here. Comment this out. I'm going to add this script below this, just because that's probably where we'll put any custom CSS that we do have. And as always, CSS is last in. The last thing on that page is going to be take precedence. So we have our more basic scripts, and then as we scroll down, we get our more specific scripts. Site CSS probably being the most specific. So, go ahead and add all this here. Style equals, we'll go CSS / main.css. It'd be kind of confusing having main and site.css, but we'll work with it. No big deal, right, guys? That's cool. What's left? What's left? What's left, guys? Oh yeah, main.js. We'll add that up here. Typically you add scripts on the bottom, but I've added this one to the top and haven't had any problems. So let's go. Source equals JS, main.js. And those are our full calendar scripts. So we have our references there. Everything is nicely referenced. Everything looks good. So, cool. Cool, that was really easy, right, guys? It was really easy. And we're just getting started. Got a lot more cool stuff to work through here. Okay, what's next? Well, let's go ahead and add that initialization code right here. So you can see it uses the add event listener DOM content loaded, which is a very good event listener to tie your JavaScript code into, because the DOM content loaded means everything's loaded. Some people also use jQuery document.ready, but I think DOM content loaded is a little bit more reliable. You can also use window.onload. But what it's doing is it's initializing it based on this field right here. This field with this ID, div.id equals calendar, it's tying it into that, and then it's generating it from that. We'll have a little welcome message here to our calendar app. Watch with the @ symbol, that gets us into our razor. And we'll go ahead and we'll just paste this right here. Finally, we'll add that DOM content loaded script. And we'll just put this in our nice little homepage. Isn't that great, guys? And now let's go ahead and hit the play button on this and see what we got. Okay. Looks great. Well, I mean, it looks like crap, but it works great. Yeah, we can style this later on, so don't worry about how it looks for now. You know, we can add custom whatever to the back of this, and it should be overwriting some of the styles from the what do you call it? From the basic Bootstrap theme, but it isn't. So we may have to play around with that a little bit. That's okay. We can always customize the style later. What's important is we got it. We can. Oh, and one last thing to test. We got to make sure we can log in, right? Let me show you guys something a little tricky here. Tricky. When you're testing out your .NET apps, check this out. Require a confirmed account. This is added by default. Be very careful with this because if you're working on a local machine, you won't get the email. Like I was telling you, you won't, because it needs an SMTP gateway. We have to extend the send email async functionality within our, what is it called? I can't remember where that is. But you have to add an extra layer of functionality to send emails within .NET and .NET Core, typically. So we're going to go ahead and change this to false, just for test purposes. Let's make it easy for ourselves, shall we? And then this default connection should connect us to a database. And you can see the default connection when you go into appsettings.json. We can see here, it's just this little stupid database that it created for us. Doesn't really have much in it, just has the default .NET Core identity stuff. That's all it has, which is all we need, really, to get started. It's all we need. And that's cool. So that's it. That's all we got for starting out. Let's go ahead and try a login. I'll use my throwaway email account. Please don't spam me, but if you do, I don't care because it's not my real email. Yeah. Let's go ahead and try the register. Again, this is all generated for you. And if it's set to false, it should log us in right after we hit register. I think. I'm not sure. I usually set it to true because I'm usually working with apps in production where we want the email confirmed. Oh, here we go. Nope. Very common error. No big deal. So it's saying that we don't have access to the database. That's an easy fix. You might see this when you first get started. And it's even giving you the solution here. You just run update database in our package manager console. So yeah, simple fix. In fact, if we go into SQL Server Object Explorer and we find that that database, which it should be in here somewhere. What is it called? Calendar app FA7. You can see I've made a number of different databases. I'm always breaking my databases. Always. Because that's just what happens. It doesn't look like it's created it yet. Doesn't look like it. You know, it would normally show up here, but I don't see any with that matching name. So I think we have to create it by running update database. That's probably why it's giving us that error. So let's run that and see what it says. And what this does is if we go in here and we look at these migrations here, it's going to run this. This file here, create identity schema. And then the database will now support what we have, which is you know, .NET identity with managed identity, or with individual user accounts, excuse me, not managed identity. Okay, so now let's look and let's hit refresh. We can see here, it created the database. It's got this long ass name and all kinds of crap. And you can see I've done this calendar app once or twice before. And of course, broken things because that's just what we do, right? Yeah, that looks really good. And that has all our fields. These are our users. These are roles. user roles, because there's one-to-many between user and role, so you have your junction table in there. Looks really good. So let's go ahead and try it again. This time we should be able to register, and it should log us in right after we do register. Cool. Let's go register. Here's my throwaway account. Feel free to spam me. I don't care. Rarely use that account. Ta-da! Look at that. You can see my throwaway email right here. And if we even go into the database, we can see a record in the database, which means we are rolling. We're rolling. We got this thing up and running. The last step, I know this isn't part of my process, but the last step we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and version this. So we're going to do like an init commit, initial commit. So we're going to go open in File Explorer, find where this bad boy is located. It's in repos. We're going to go copy, and I'm going to check my versioning here and see. Maybe this is the right folder. It is not, because my versioning is not updating. So let's see, which folder did I put it in? I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Be careful with your versioning, folks, because yeah, I've named things so many different things because sometimes I work on multiple versions, and sometimes I don't figure out what the final version is until I'm actually like halfway through the project. And I'm like, okay, this is the final file that I'm gonna work. So cool. Yeah, that looks good. That looks like the right file. And this is our yeah. I'm looking at it over here in source tree. This is where we need to go. So let's go ahead, grab that, and we're gonna paste it. Copying 535 items. Watch out. This is gonna be a big commit. This might take a minute. The initial commit is usually big because you're adding your DLL files, you're adding all your styles, all your HTML, CSS, your layouts, partial stuff. So if it takes this long just to copy paste the files, man, you know it's going to take this long to push it up to GitHub. Take a while. Take a while. Now let's make sure we delete this out of here so I don't get confused which one I'm looking at. Let's go ahead and shut this down. Shut this Visual Studio down. Because sometimes it's easier to create the repository itself. And then if I bring my source tree over here, I can show you guys now. It's saying, hey, look at all these files we found in your repository. So we're pretty well synced up at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete all this stuff from that older thing. Clear it out to make sure we're loading the correct one. And then we'll go ahead and we'll open up this one. And it should be exactly what we were just working on. So let's take a look and make sure. Make sure it's the exact same, which would make sense given that we copied and pasted it. Always remember to version your code, though. Always version, because when you break it, sometimes you can go back. But if you don't version, you can't go back. How can you know what to do if you don't know what you did? God. Yeah, this looks great. This looks perfect. So we're good to go. Let's bring over source tree here real quick. We'll do our initial commit and make sure everything is synced up to GitHub. I like source tree, by the way. I definitely recommend it. It's cool. I'm not a command line Git guy. Some of you guys are. I'm not. Some good coffee. Yeah, I think you guys get it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section. As soon as I push these changes to the remote, why is it not showing up? You have to select a branch, apparently. Anyways, you guys get it. I'll figure it out and we'll move on to the next section. Cool.